How's it going, guys, and welcome back. So after investing over 75 hours of gameplay into the new Monster Hunter Rise, it is finally time for tips and tricks I wish I knew earlier. Before we even think about any combat-related tips, there's a bunch of useful things we should know before we even leave Kamura Village. The first tip about Kamura Village involves the Buddy Plaza. There's going to be this massive tree over here to the right with a grapevine that allows us to climb it, and at the top there's going to be a Kahoot nest. And this nest is going to spawn an item after every single quest we complete. The main reason for this, honestly, is the acorns it spawns. These things are a huge help with pretty much anything regarding the Buddy Plaza when you send out your Meowcenaries. When you send out your submarines, they just boost up pretty much anything that involves the Buddy Plaza. The nest can store a max of 5 items, so come back after each 5 quests to pick up all of your loot and then just continue on your quests. Now that we're in the Buddy Plaza, there's a few basic things we should go over just to make sure we're covering everything. It's very important to know that while your buddies level up, they unlock new skills. However, these passive skills don't automatically get equipped onto your buddies. You have to go to a buddy board and manually equip whichever one of these abilities you want on your buddy. One of the most efficient ways of getting around in Monster Hunter Rise is riding on the back of your Palamute. And there are 2 different ways you can do this. The first method is using the D-pad to use your action bar down here to manually call him in. This is definitely the worst way of doing this. The game will explain to you that you can hold down the A button to automatically call your Palamute and ride him if it's nearby. Don't worry, that isn't one of the tips. What I'm getting at is that there's actually a better way of doing this. What you want to do is go into your options, then go down to controls, and under here, the second option down is going to be button hold settings. Now here we want to change this to short. What this allows us to do is that any action that we have to hold down the A button for example, it's going to shorten the length of how long we need to hold it down for. This way, when we're out in the field and want to call over our Palamute so we can ride around faster, we don't have to hold the A button down for as long. This may seem a little bit inconsequential on paper, but trust me, try it out and you will not regret this. Now that we're in the options menu, there's actually one other small thing that I wasn't going to include in this video, but I've just remembered. If you're just starting out in Monster Hunter and you're having a hard time getting the hang of the lock-on controls onto the targets, definitely go down here into the camera options and change the style to focus camera. This just feels way more like intuitive for anyone who's played any other action RPG compared to this game specifically. It's a little bit weird. I'm sure there's a ton of veterans out there that will explain probably why one is better than the other, but for me, focus camera just feels way more intuitive, especially when you're just starting out. Now down here in the bottom right, we have our action menu that can be controlled with our D-pad. However, there's one specific shortcut here that is absolutely amazing and it's a game changer, and it's going to be the one called Quest Board. What this allows us to do is when playing online for multiplayer co-op missions, the reason this is such a game changer is that by just pressing up or down on the D-pad, we can directly open up the Quest Board no matter where we are in the Kamura Village. So let's say you're playing co-op with some friends and between one quest and the next, you decide to go out in Kamura Village for whatever reason, you go to the blacksmith, you do whatever it is you need to do, and then your friends post the next quest. Instead of walking all the way back to the quest board to join up, you can simply come down here to the action menu and join up from wherever you are in Kamura Village. Also, another quick tip, now we're on the topic of co-op, I don't actually have this one written down, there's a few of these that are just popping into my head now that we're speaking, is that while we're in the Gathering Hub, this is the inside building where all the co-op stuff goes down, something I didn't realize right at the beginning is that you have pretty much everything you need inside that one building. Upstairs, we even have our very own blacksmith and, of course, our buddy blacksmith. However, the most important thing, what I'm trying to get at, is in front of the blacksmith upstairs in the Gathering Hub, we have a housekeeper. And this housekeeper is pretty much the entire Buddy Plaza in one single NPC. So if we come up here, we can go straight into our Meowcenaries menu. We can go into the Argosy menu, which is to collect anything from the submarines. We can even go to the Buddy Dojo. So definitely take that into account when you're playing co-op. Remember, you don't really need to leave this single building for pretty much anything. Which, by the way, this may seem like common sense for anyone's actually using them, but make sure you are using your Meowcenaries and the Argosy. The reason I mention this is that I understand many people come from different genres of games, and they just don't like getting into the nitty-gritty of some of these side sort of things that aren't really that important. However, this really is so important, I can't stress that enough. Even if you just leave them to collect herbs and honey for the entire game, this at least gives you almost an infinite stack of mega potions so you never have to buy any again and never have to run out of materials in the middle of a quest. And as for the Meowcenaries, there's really no reason not to do this, as you simply send them out to wherever you want them to go and then collect your free materials. Also, in the Argosy shop, there's going to be a rare item section. Make sure you check this every now and then, as it does update after every quest. And sometimes they sell really expensive items, so you can buy those with points and just get a ton of cash. Now, very early on, you'll unlock switch skills, which allow you to replace one of your skills with another select skill in that weapon type. What the game doesn't tell you is that you can also unlock the second switch skill for every weapon type really early on. All you need to do is craft or upgrade 7 unique weapons inside that weapon type category, then go and speak with Master Utsushi here in the Gathering Hub, and this will unlock the second switch skill for whatever weapon type you crafted for. Okay, 2 more things in the general list, and then I promise we're ready for some combat tips. First of all, once you hit about mid-game, make sure you're using your equipment and item loadouts. What the loadouts are pretty much presets you can save and then simply load up at any time before you go into combat. Let's say your amazing setup you've got right now is a really powerful fire damage build, but then we come up against an enemy that is really weak to lightning, let's say. What we can do is go to the item box and go to equipment loadouts, and here we simply press the X button and save this preset exactly the way it is, and then we can change our arm around or load up another preset, and then when we want to come back to this build exactly the way it is, we don't have to manually change all of our armor and weapons around again. We can simply load up the preset and have our class back, so it's really great to have a bunch of different classes that you can freely switch between whenever you like. And the amazing thing is we can do the exact same thing with our items. So what I do is I have a really simple item loadout you can see right here, which pretty much just includes the mega potions, the traps, the buffs, stuff like that you're going to need pretty much every single quest, and you don't have to manually keep getting them out of the box at the start or every time you run out. What you do, you go to the item box, you press your item loadout, you press load it up, and it will automatically restock at max those items from your box. Okay, final tip in the general section, let's go over this really quickly. When we go into our monster notes to check the weaknesses of every enemy, something a lot of people have been asking is, are the numbers here show resistance or is that weakness? Like the higher the number, does that mean they're weaker or more resistant to that element? And the way it works is the higher the number, the weaker they are to that element. The reason I'm clearing this up is because on most games the number indicates the resistance instead of the weakness, but I thought I'd just include this just to make sure nobody's getting confused. Okay, now as promised, it is finally time to jump into the fun stuff, the combat section of Monster Hunter Rise. First of all, when you're closing in on your target and you approach these massive monsters, more often than not, they'll initiate the fight with a massive roar that will stun lock you for a few seconds. Something not many people know is that you can actually counter and dodge this roar as if it were a full-on attack. So if you're using the longsword, for example, and want to get your counter-attack in to build up your spirit level, you can actually do this on the roar, which apart from looking absolutely amazing by countering through a roar, it's actually really useful. Again, this next one is a little bit basic, but I just want to make sure we include absolutely everything in this video, and that is, remember, you can actually use most items while you're riding your Palamute. So when the enemy is running away and you're chasing after him, that is the moment when you want to use your whetstone to sharpen your weapon or to heal up or get your stamina back, anything like that. You want to do that while chasing down the monster instead of just stopping on the ground before running after him. This way you're not going to get left behind by your teammates while you're sitting there sharpening your weapon and they're all chasing after the monster. In Monster Hunter Rise, we can get hit by a whole bunch of different status effects, such as Fire Blight, we can get hit by Sleep, Paralysis, Stun, Poison, etc, etc. And not all of them wear off in the same manner. Some of them can actually be removed by just simply swinging around on your wire bug a couple of times. It will completely remove the status effect. Some of them go away quicker if we roll around on the ground. For example, Fire Blight, if we roll around inside water, it will actually heal and remove the status effect a lot quicker than if we simply roll around on dirt. But the best way to check this is simply go into your Hunter info, come down to abnormal statuses, and you can see exactly how each one of them can be removed manually instead of just waiting for them to wear off. Now, every time we finish a hunt, there's 2 annoying things we have to deal with. Well, there's actually 3, but one of them we can't really do anything about. The first one may seem, again, inconsequential, but when you're like me, these things kind of end up bugging you quite a bit, is that as soon as you slay the monster, you kind of get this mini cutscene where the camera sort of starts to pan around. It's not the final sort of celebration cutscene, but it's that mini one you get as soon as the enemy's slain. You can actually instantly skip this with B and go straight into looting. It's not necessarily a time saver, as you have to wait for the timer to run out anyway, which, by the way, is the annoying part I said you can't do much about, the timer itself. But I don't know, it's just I always found that mini cutscene really annoying, so it's nice to know you can skip it. And on the same note, when the timer reaches 0, you get this short celebration cutscene where you celebrate with your Palamute or your cat or whatever it is. And though we can't technically skip this cutscene, there is a way to skip it unconventionally. What we want to do is, as soon as the timer is about to reach 0, we want to hang in the air while using our wire bugs, or just make sure our feet aren't touching the ground. And if we do this, by the time the timer reaches 0, it will instantly skip over the cutscene of the celebration, so we can go straight to our rewards menu. It only saves us a couple of seconds per hunt, but again, it's just one of those things that really bugged me that you couldn't skip, so there you have it. Now guys, even if you are new at Monster Hunter, you've probably heard of the term of capturing monsters on this, and you're probably wondering what it means. Maybe you've done the training mission that explains capture monsters, but honestly, even the training mission makes this sound so much more complex than it actually is to capture monsters. It is so simple, and it's a time saver if you're just trying to rush through certain quests to get some materials, and B, it increases the chance of certain materials that you can't really get through actually killing the monster. So there's a ton of reasons of why you'd want to capture monsters. All you need is a trap and 2 tranquilizing bombs, which can be crafted fairly easily. And to capture monsters, it is literally so simple. All you need to do is attack the enemy as you normally would until you see this little blue symbol appear below their icon. This means that they are tired or weak enough to allow you to capture them. Once this has appeared, simply place a trap on the ground, stand behind it to lure the enemy in towards it. Once the enemy gets caught in the trap, throw 2 tranquilizing bombs at him by pressing the Y button. And that's it, It's captured, the quest is over, the hunt is done, you get your rewards. It saves you a big chunk of the fight, and like I said before, some of the rewards are actually better by capturing than they are by slaying the enemy. Just if you are trying to farm for a specific material from that enemy, make sure you check if the chances are higher by capturing or by slaying before you do this. And I know the training missions do actually explain this to you, but be honest, how many of you have actually done the training missions? Now guys, with this video, I am trying my best to avoid speaking about the topics which pretty much every other video has already spoken on. However, there is one thing that's so basic yet so important that I can't not speak about it, which is please use the training area. Like when you go into this game, if you're just starting in your adventures of Monster Hunter for the first time and you come from another franchise, for example, I'm a hardcore Dark Souls fan, and the transition from Dark Souls to this, everything was so slow and sluggish, like the attacks were slow, it didn't feel like we had that many attacks. I was seeing some like insane combos on YouTube and stuff, it just felt like so far out of reach and I just really wasn't digging the game, it just felt like a drag to play. Generally, read the weapon notes and how every ability works on your weapon, and just figure them out here in the training area before you go out into your quest, as I really can't stress enough how complex the combat system really is with each weapon type on this game compared to a lot of other action RPGs. You can't just go in full bottom mashing and hope to prevail at this game, you really do need to learn how the weapons work, so definitely go and do that. But don't worry, in the next few days, hopefully I should be uploading some weapon guides, at least for the weapon types I feel like I've mastered up until now, just with some maybe basic builds and some of the most efficient combos that you should be using or what you should be focusing on with each class, so definitely stay tuned for those. Now the final combat tip is less of a tip and more of a PSA for everybody out there. Please, if you're playing online co-op with people you don't know, just like random people off the internet, if you're about to die and you have no potions left, don't risk it, don't stay in the combat, please go back into your tent, eat some more dangos, craft some more potions, heal up, whatever it is you need to do, but please don't stay right in the heat of combat in harm's way when you're one hit away from dying. Trust me, no one is going to think badly of you because you abandon the fight and go back to the tent for a few seconds just to replenish your health and get your potions back and stuff. Everyone would much rather you do that than die after 15 minutes of fighting a massive monster and then have to reset the level for everybody. Also, on a bit of a contradictory note, guys, don't be afraid of dying. Don't be afraid of getting involved in the action just because you feel like embarrassed or you blame yourself if you die 3 times on the same quest and the whole team loses out on the mission because of you. Everybody was new at some time, especially the veteran players understand this. Like, obviously it's frustrating for them to fail the mission just because somebody died 3 times, but trust me, the community on this game is actually pretty amazing. They understand that it's a hard game to get the hang of, so pretty much what I'm trying to say is don't be afraid to get involved. Like, don't just stand on the sidelines because you're afraid of dying and screwing up for everyone. It's not a big deal. Like, if you die, you die, that's it. It's fine. Okay, so those are all the main combat tips I wanted to go over, and as I'm speaking, I've just realized this may be one of our longest tips and tricks videos we have made on this channel so far. There's just so many things to talk about, I may even make a part 2 down the line sometime. So let's try to speed this up a bit, talking about the exploration part of the game. Few things we need to know. Instead of manually going into our detailed map every time, we can actually just hold down the minus button for a few seconds, and this will take us directly to our detailed map. Then if we press the minus button again while on the detailed map, this will actually ping our icon to let everyone know where we are. Another thing some people don't know is that there are actually collectibles on this game that are incredibly well hidden. I'm talking some of the most well hidden collectibles I've seen in games for years. And these are going to be the relic records. These are the swords that are stuck in the ground in specific locations around the map. If you enjoy a challenge, I would definitely recommend trying to look for these without looking them up anywhere, and you will be surprised how well hidden some of these are. I'm not gonna lie, I probably actually spent over 20 hours of gameplay just looking for these relics, and it wasn't necessarily because I enjoyed the challenge, it's simply because nobody had found them yet, like not on Reddit, not on YouTube. There was simply no idea of where some of these were. So me and a couple of other YouTubers got together and we just spent hours and hours looking for these, but it did pay off in the end, and we do have the videos uploaded here on the channel. So if you do have trouble finding them, be sure to check the channel. We have videos for every single map of how to find all of the relics if you do need that. And I feel like that sounded way more self-promo than it was intended to be. Anyway, this has gone on for way too long, so I'll give you one final tip before we end, is that when you reach 4-star on the Gathering Hub, these are the co-op missions on the inside, make sure you go to the market and buy the Power Charm and the Armor Charm. They cost a bunch of money. I think it was like 36,000 and 24,000 if I'm not mistaken. And what they do is simply for carrying them around and having them on you, they increase your power and your armor a little bit. Given it's not a huge bonus, but there's no reason not to do this as you don't need those slots for anything else, quite honestly. So anyway, guys, as usual, if you do have any extra tips for newcomers to the franchise, be sure to leave them in the comments down below. I hope you did find this really helpful. If you did, don't forget that thumbs up button, subscribe for more content coming very soon, and we'll see you next time.